Hello everyone and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Annalise and I'm a qualified winemaker living in Gauteng. Now if you know where Gauteng is and you know a little bit about Gauteng, there's definitely no vines here or no vines for growing grapes. Generally it's not regarded as a good area to grow grapevines for wine production. So yes, I am not making wine in Gauteng, but I really wanted to, and I really want to use my knowledge that I've gained during my studies to make something. And I have decided to start a whole new hobby, which involves making vinegar. So the initial process is very similar. You basically make wine first, and then there's a secondary fermentation that takes place, and that's the part I have no clue what to do. Oh, and my son is going to join us. He's also going to probably feature in some of the videos. So yeah, I've got no idea how to make vinegar, and that is what I'm going to try and figure out. And I'm going to document the whole thing, and keep you guys updated as I go along and share what I've gained through this channel. So let's get started. Hi guys, okay, so today we're going to be making our very first batch of vinegar, or experimenting or trying it out. So I've got a couple of things here. I've got some leftover wine that we haven't finished, and they have definitely oxidized, so they're not good for drinking anymore. So instead of just throwing them away, I'm going to see if I can make some vinegar using it. So first things first, I'm going to actually measure out how much I've got. I don't think I've got enough, a whole lot. The reason why I'm measuring it out to obviously know what I'm starting off with, and then I also want to dilute it. The alcohol percentage in here is about 14.5%. Hi, see, and that's right. And what one is this? 14.5, and again 14.5. So that's quite high in alcohol. Acetic acid bacteria can actually survive in alcohol. I mean, that's what they use as a carbon source to actually ferment the alcohol into vinegar, or acetic acid, that we then refer to as vinegar. But because it's so high, I really do want to dilute it slightly so that it just gives the acetic acid bacteria a better chance at survival and growing, that we don't kill it off before it actually starts. So first things first, I've got about 300 ml of wine. Now this is at 14.5%, so I'm going to do a quick calculation. It's relatively easy. I just refer to it as my C1V1 calculation. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to write down my initial volume and my initial concentration of my alcohol, and then I'm going to decide on my final concentration, and then the second volume is going to be my final volume once I've diluted it with water. So basically C1V1 equals C2V2. Now my C1 is 14.5%. My V1 is going to be 300 ml. So I'm going to write it down. My C2 is going to be, let's say, 8%. Again, I've got no idea what it should be, but I am playing around with it. This is my first experiment. So from here, once I see the results, I can then, once I do my second batch, I can do some changes. And then my V2 is going to be unknown. So again, this is what my formula looks like. So I'm going to need my calculator, which is on my phone, which I'm using to record on. So I'm just going to give this a pause and get back to you. Okay guys, I've just finished the calculation. So this is basically what it looked like. So my C1 was my 14.5%, my V1 was my 300 ml, equals C2, which is going to be 8, times my V2, which is the unknown, which I don't know. That gave me a value of 543.75 ml is my V2, as you can see. So that's my final volume. So that means the difference between my initial volume and my final volume is then going to be the amount of water I need to add. So that's going to be 143.75 mils. So let's make it 145 mils. That's going to be easy. So I'm just going to measure that off just using normal tap water. It doesn't have to be you know, reverse osmosis water or distilled water. It can just be, if you've got water that's perfectly fine to drink, you can use it in your fermentations usually, which is going to be used in my vinegar as well. So I'm going to measure out some water and then just add it to my vinegar, to my wine. Okay guys, so basically what I had to do is I've only got one of these very nice measuring beakers, which is quite easy and to work with. My measuring cup doesn't have any measurements on there, so I generally use this for all my measurements. So I just had to empty it out in this type of console jar. I got this from a company called Crafty Cultures. They actually sell like a fermentation or food fermentation kit, which then comes with like a cute fermentation lock and a plastic screw top lid, which makes it really good for fermenting. But today I'm not going to be using this fermentation lock because we want a lot of oxygen present during our fermentation, during our secondary fermentation, because acetic acid bacteria wants oxygen. They need oxygen and alcohol in order to do the fermentation and produce vinegar. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be using one of these blue cloths. I got this from a company called Distilled Beverages. They do sell all types of fermentation and distillation equipment, and they've got these really nice cloths. I think they sell it for like 14 rand, which is really cheap. It's actually a massive piece. I just cut off a small piece because I'm not going to be needing that big piece. Okay, so I've got my 300 mils of wine, I've got my 145 mils of water, and I'm just going to add it to my wine. Now, just an extra step that I would have done, because I'm using wine, you'll see that they generally add sulfides, sulfur, just to preserve the wine. I can't actually see it on here. Oh yeah, it contains sulfides. Now basically what that does is it actually preserves the wine, so it prevents any secondary contamination, specifically for any acetic acid bacteria that might be in there, any other basically contaminants, microorganisms that we don't want. Now acetic acid bacteria is one of these organisms that we don't generally want. But there's an easy way of getting rid of it. Sulfur usually goes inactive, or it goes into its bound form, which is an inactive form of sulfur, which then doesn't give the preservative properties it's meant to when it comes in contact with oxygen. And since these bottles have been standing open for quite a while, I think all of the sulfur has gone into its bound form, and we've got no risk of the preservative factor of it anymore. But if you are opening a fresh bottle of wine, what you can do is you can add a little bit of peroxide. It's an intense oxidative agent, which will then immediately cause all that sulfur to actually bind. But yeah, like I said, it was not necessary for me today, but maybe in future videos when I'm doing more experiments, I'll probably use a fresh bottle of wine where I'm going to need to add peroxide. But like I said, today that was not necessary at all. Okay, so I've got my wine here, and now the key ingredients. I am going to cheat a little bit. I've got a little bit of apple cider vinegar, so it's apple cider vinegar that still has the mother culture in there, just to help me fasten the process. Hey! So what you can do is you can just leave this open, maybe just cover it with this cloth so that it is exposed to the air, and there is acetic acid bacteria present in the air naturally, but this is going to take quite a while before it actually starts forming in my bottle. So I'm just going to cheat and add this little bit of acetic acid, or this apple cider vinegar, with the live cultures to help me fasten the process. You can actually see, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, there's like stuff floating at the bottom of this container, and that's some of the bacteria. So I'm just going to add this to there. I'm going to just quickly mix it up. Yeah, this still smells like wine, so that apple cider vinegar that I've added in here didn't really affect the smell yet. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to cover it like this. What this is going to do is it's going to allow oxygen to come in contact with my wine, but it's going to prevent any wine flies or any solids from coming into this container. We don't want that. So the thing that I'm going to do now is just monitor it. I'm going to check up on this, let's say every second, third day, and give you guys an update. I'm not sure generally how long this takes to form, so I will, like I said, monitor it and let you guys know. And yeah, that is our first batch of vinegar that we are making.